Before we dive in, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that show what happens when heart meets power. Let's go. The courtroom buzzed with restrained formality, mahogany benches, sharp black robes, a sea of silence, occasionally broken by whispers. Amy Coney Barrett sat high above the crowd, her posture elegant, her face unreadable. Her voice broke the tension with smooth precision. "Mr. Musk, may I ask, where exactly did you say you grew up?" A few spectators shifted in their seats, sensing where this was going. There was a faint trace of skepticism in her tone, like the question had less to do with facts and more to do with judgment. Elon looked up slowly. "No problem, Your Honor. I grew up in Pretoria, South Africa. A small home, no AC, no tech, just dirt roads and tough days." Barrett raised an eyebrow. "Forgive me, it's just hard to imagine the son of an emerald mine owner calling it a tough life." A few polite chuckles rolled through the room, but Elon didn't flinch. He leaned into the mic, voice calm, eyes unwavering. "Respectfully, Your Honor, the hardest things in life aren't always measured in money. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's the absence of someone telling you that you matter." The courtroom went quiet. Barrett blinked. The smile on her face faded just slightly, not out of offense, but out of something more human. Realization. Let us know in the comments. Have you ever been underestimated because of where you came from? And in that moment, Elon wasn't a billionaire. He was just a boy from nowhere, telling the truth. Amy Coney Barrett glanced down at her notes, but something in her expression had shifted. The script she was supposed to follow suddenly felt flimsy. "I see," she said, quietly. "And did that silence shape who you became?" Elon nodded slowly. "I think it forced me to listen harder. To people, to problems, to possibility." Barrett tried to keep her tone firm, professional. "You're known for building things, Mr. Musk. Big things. But some say you bulldoze people in the process." Elon gave a soft smile. "Some people think compassion and ambition can't coexist. I disagree." At the back of the room, a reporter's hand shot up. "Elon, is it true you once slept in a factory?" He turned. "Yeah, I still do sometimes. Because if I'm asking people to break their backs for something, I better be willing to lose some sleep for it too." The judge folded her hands. For a second, her face wasn't that of a justice. It was that of a mother, of a woman trying to understand the boy behind the empire. And then, something unexpected. She leaned forward, voice almost a whisper. "What do you regret the most?" Elon's answer came fast. "Not asking my mom how she survived. She worked 3 jobs so I could read by candlelight. I never thanked her enough." "Would you forgive someone you misjudged if you learned what they overcame? Let us know in the comments below." The room tilted. It wasn't a courtroom anymore. It was a confessional, and everyone was leaning in. A young attorney from the gallery stood up, almost too eager. "Mr. Musk, with all due respect, aren't you just using these stories to shield yourself from criticism?" Elon turned to face him, calm, unmoved. "Criticism is useful, but when it becomes cruelty, it stops being productive." Judge Barrett raised her hand gently. "Let's not turn this into a trial of character." Elon leaned forward slightly. "But maybe it should be. Not just mine, but all of ours. Because when we ignore the humanity behind people, all we're left with is assumptions." Barrett paused. She hadn't expected this tone. This wasn't the version of Elon Musk painted in headlines. This was something quieter, rawer, She glanced again at her notes, then set them aside. You mentioned your mother earlier. What about your father? Elon hesitated. That hesitation said more than a paragraph could. My father taught me one thing: what not to become. A deep breath swept through the courtroom. Even the stenographer's fingers slowed. Barrett leaned back. She wasn't smiling anymore, not because she was upset, but because she felt something twist in her chest. That quiet empathy judges aren't supposed to show. Then, almost under her breath, she said it. Sometimes, we forget the weight behind someone's eyes. If you've ever felt judged before, someone knew your truth. Hit that like button and share your story in the comments. You're not alone. And for the first time in that courtroom, Elon Musk didn't look like he was defending himself. He looked like he was defending every unheard story. The gavel sat untouched. Judge Barrett's gaze lingered on Elon for a long moment, then drifted toward the public gallery, toward the faces that were no longer simply watching, but feeling. She exhaled softly. Mr. Musk, I asked you about your upbringing to understand your foundations, but it seems I may have missed something. Elon leaned forward slightly, curious. What's that, Your Honor? She hesitated, eyes soft now, not sharp. I thought I'd find the tech mogul, the billionaire, not the boy who grew up lighting candles to study quantum physics. The courtroom chuckled. So did Elon. Then she added, My own father was a steelworker. He used to say, the strongest metals come from the hottest fires. I suppose that applies to people too. Elon nodded. That's true. But sometimes people break in that fire. Some don't make it through. There was a stillness. I think, Barrett said carefully, that we often forget what it takes to carry that kind of pressure, especially when you're expected to fix everything all the time. Elon blinked. Exactly. A pause. Then, Barrett did something no one expected. She set her glasses on the desk, folded her hands, and spoke with something that almost sounded like warmth. Thank you for reminding me that behind the headlines, there's a human. If this story changed how you view someone, even just a little, drop a heart emoji in the comments. Let's normalize looking deeper. And just like that, the judge stopped questioning. She started listening. The gallery no longer fidgeted. Phones were forgotten. Pens had stopped scratching. All eyes were on two people, a Supreme Court justice and a man who once launched a car into space. Elon looked down for a second, collecting his thoughts. Then he said, almost to himself, I used to believe success was about proving people wrong. But I've learned it's more powerful to prove people right, especially the ones who believed in you before anyone else did. Judge Barrett tilted her head. Is there someone in particular you're thinking of? Elon smiled, eyes distant. My old secretary. Her name was Sarah. She used to sneak sandwiches onto my desk when she knew I hadn't eaten all day. When I finally made it big, I bought her a house. A ripple of warmth spread across the room. Barrett's voice, now stripped of protocol, asked, And why did you choose to share all this here? Elon shrugged. Because the courtroom isn't just where laws are tested. It's where truth gets its shot. She paused, then said, almost as a whisper, You came here expecting a fight, and instead, you started a conversation. If someone ever stood by you when no one else did, tag them in the comments. Let them know it mattered. And just like that, something unseen shifted. The courtroom didn't feel like a trial anymore. It felt like redemption. A week later, the clip from that courtroom moment had gone viral. Not because Elon raised his voice, not because Judge Barrett made some dramatic ruling, but because of the silence, because of what wasn't said, but felt. A TikTok edit of the moment where Elon said, "I came to defend every unheard story," racked up 17 million views. People stitched their own responses, sharing their own hardships, their quiet beginnings, their first jobs, their forgotten mentors. Was that kid started trending worldwide. Meanwhile, in a quiet corner of DC, Judge Barrett sat alone in her chambers. She rewatched the hearing, not as a jurist, but as a human being. When asked by a clerk what she thought, she simply said, "Sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't judge, it's listen." Across the country, Elon visited a rural community center in Texas where kids were learning coding using solar-powered laptops. One girl, about 11 years old, tugged on his sleeve. "Mr. Musk, my mom says you used to read by candlelight too." Elon smiled. "She's right. And you? You'll read under stars and write your own code to reach them." If this story reminded you that greatness often starts in the quietest places, drop A in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories that remind us where we come from matters. And just like that, a courtroom echo turned into a global reminder. You don't have to shout to be heard, you just have to speak with truth.